Zack Snyder's supposedly a movie, Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver. The first movie was an abomination of everything we call movie in society, so I expected it can't get worse, right? And turns out it actually can. Somehow this movie manages to be even more boring than the first one and at the same time more entertaining. And as you are watching it and extreme amounts of stupidity pour out of the screen, you just sit there and not believing that someone actually greenlit it, and what's worse, someone actually funded it, and that someone being Netflix. So the movie opens up with a quick summary of events that happened in the first part, which is longer than I expected because there is literally nothing of value that happened in the first movie. The body whom we killed in the first movie is alive. It was even shown in the first movie, and right now we see him getting his treatment, how they bring him back to life. I didn't really notice this, but the fact that he is called Noble is kinda a way to show Zack Snyder's creativity in the flesh. After we are reminded that Noble is alive, we get back to this pseudo-Viking village/planet, and the name of the planet is not memorable at all. We all know Zack Snyder is trying to copy the homework from other franchises, mainly Star Wars and Warhammer 40k, but you can't really copy names, so he had to come up with their own, and therefore the name of the planet is Veld, which spells incredibly close as Veld, which is Icelandic for rolled. Fitting, because we all got rolled into watching this movie, and everyone who watched this movie definitely rolled their eyes at the sheer stupidity of the script. That's meta, don't be fooled. Zack Snyder knows what he's doing. But let's go back to the movie. Right now we are on the planet where we get ready for a fight. If you thought that the first movie was the preparation for the fight, you are wrong. Zack Snyder got us all rolled again. The first movie was collect the crew. This movie is still preparing for the fight. Half of the movie, which is 2 hours long, the movie is 2 hours long, half of the movie, which is full hour, we are preparing for the fight that is to come in the second part of the movie. Our main protagonist, who we know nothing about and really don't give a shit about any of them, they all reap the wheat in slow motion. Somewhat roughly 20 to 30 minutes of collecting grain, most of it being in slow motion. After that, we maybe get 10 to 15 minutes of training montage, which ultimately is probably the shittiest training montage I've seen in a while. Zack Snyder doesn't really understand how to develop characters, and he doesn't even understand how to present characters' progression. The idea of a training montage is to show the viewers how someone was complete shit at something and got better as the training goes on to become a master or somehow understand what he's doing. Here in Zack Snyder's vision, everyone is a fucking sharpshooter. Every single one of the villages, even people who never held a gun in their fucking lives, are shooting the training dummies and not missing a single shot. What's the training montage for, Zack? Please explain. If everyone in your Warhammer Wars universe ripoff is naturally born marksman, why do you have training montage? They even call one lady a natural one. No, she's not a single one. You called one a natural, but they all are natural. They all are the best and they never miss a single shot. During this first hour of the movie, Zack finally gives us some backstory for the people that we supposed to care about. Each one of these flashback scenes would be way better idea to set the 6-movie trilogy around it. Yes, I know, we get to that later. We also have to see how Cora and Loverboy kiss and lay together in bed, the fastest out of nowhere love story in the movie set to date. And this scene is also shot as you'd expect from Zack Snyder. When we are zoomed in, the sky is light. Frame switch and it's night. Just great. We have a backstory of Tyrus, which is a general man, how he rebelled and all his men got executed in front of him, presented with really shitty VFX, and I also think they are too close to the blast. The blast from the orbit would probably wipe them out too, but why do I even bother to search for logic? It's Zack Snyder's movie. We also have this backstory for a prince, when I have to admit we have this noir aesthetic looking planet and we actually witnessed the destruction of it. It actually looks mildly interesting, but no, remember, don't show it for too long because we are being rolled right now. We are getting much better scenes presented to us to make us feel like the movie is any good and has anything of value to offer, but in fact we are still on Veld gathering grain. We also have a flashback scene for a Star Wars lady when she cuts her own hands. Not only this is a shitting on her character, because this backstory we are shown tells us that she doesn't really know how to fight and she isn't as cool as we thought she is. She chopped off her own hands to wear gauntlets that teach her how to fight. Also, what the fuck is this tech? Gauntlets that make you chop off your hands to wear them. We also got to see Korra's backstory a while before everyone else shared. We are shown the moment when she killed baby Jesus child when Balisarius assassinated the king. We are told that Kid Jesus was about to bring peace to galaxy, but Balisarius loved war so much that he rebelled and decided that he wants to keep the war going, so he went with assassinating the royal family. It's like, it doesn't even make sense. It's like there is not even any idea for the universe in these movies. When you look at the other better sci-fi franchises Zack is ripping off, we have Warhammer 40k, where the universe is in constant war, not because the Emperor loves war or anything, it's just every race fighting for its survival. We have Star Wars, where the war is about control over the galaxy by Jedi and Sith, and the galaxy never can be at peace when there is a Sith and Jedi alive. In Zack Snyder's universe, the war is ongoing because Balisarius loves his war machine that they've built, and the royal family wanted to stop the war and bring peace, which means the other worlds would accept. But because the main baddie loves war and killing people so much, the war is still on. That's the shittiest idea for a bad guy that you can possibly come up with. Hey guys, he is bad, hate him. I also want to point out that Balisarius has orchestra playing when they kill the royal family. They all have bags over their heads with a crying eye sawed on him. And there is one big problem of this scene. I don't understand what's the point of the bags. The same bags were used in the General story, where also don't really make any sense, because General was watching his men being executed and every single one of his men was wearing the bag over his head. What's the point of the bags in both of these scenes? They don't erase witnesses in the assassinating of the royal family because they can still hear that the royal family is being slaughtered. And the General backstory, wouldn't it be like more traumatizing to have General see the faces of his men that he loved and knew and cared for them as they are being nuked from the orbit? And why is there fucking gold crying eye on every single one of them? But okay, I guess let's go back to the story of this magnificent movie, like there is any story. So we are told Korra arrived on Veld in the Imperium's ship. Turns out she was on this planet for 2 seasons. The ship the entire time was in the woods. Nobody decided to hide it, nobody decided to steal it, scrap it for parts, make use of it. No, it just laid in the woods for 2 straight seasons. But the best part is, they just took out some grass out of the engines and it just fucking works. Immediately flying. No, nothing is needed. It's just they cleaned it and it's in working condition. At this point, I'm completely out of words. Everything just happens because it has to be easy for the main protagonist. All villagers are sharpshooters. Korra's ship is working in stellar condition, doesn't need any repairs. All the heroes joined and they are willing to die for this village. Nobody protests. It feels like it was written by someone without any idea how to build a story and how it should progress from Act 1 through second act to the Act 3, which is going to be a finale. Zack doesn't feel like writing stories, something interesting that would show our heroes struggling a bit. Maybe it would build their characters or create a bond between them. No, also try to make some connection between the characters and the audience who's watching the damn thing. It's not a story, it's not a script. It feels like this movie is a bunch of bullet points that are just being crossed out of the list, no matter how shitty the final result is going to be. During the preparation, Korra also hides the ship, so we get rare appearance of the droid who fucked off on the beginning of the part 1. So when Korra calls him by his real name, he responds, "Nobody called me this name, outside of this one guy from Mechanicus Militarum." This is, if you need more proof, what franchises Zack Snyder's borrows stuff from. The villagers took all the grain put against the building so they can't be nuked from the orbit, because this is all still about the fucking grain. The amount of the grain probably wouldn't last to feed like half of the men of this ship. Also, what, the Imperium soldiers eat grain, or do they make bread on the ship? Well, it doesn't really matter, because so Zack doesn't answer this question because it doesn't matter. The second part of the movie, almost constantly fight the entire time. A lot of shooting, flashing lights. Noble gets a village scan which shows with details, excruciating details, all the buildings and how many people are inside each one of them. The scan, however, doesn't show any traps that the villagers prepared, somehow the tunnels that are underground with people inside. No, the scan somehow missed it. The bodies want to take women and children hostage while diverting attention of two main lovebirds. But of course, as you can expect, nothing in these movies is going against the main hero's plans, so they already assume that this is going to be a case. So the sword lady is assigned to protecting women and children. Also, all the women and children know how to fight. And yeah, they said women and children, but the entire movie just presents this one boy for some reason. And as I said, everyone has a weapons, everyone is the greatest marksman in the galaxy. So there's no suspension, there is no surprises, there's nothing going against the hero's plans. They even show us the side of the Imperium when they are plotting that they are going to take over the building with women and children to use them as hostages. In fact, they stated multiple times, before Imperium soldiers even arrive at the house, the main baddie just casually says to Korra that they are about to take women and children hostage. There's one interesting scene, however. When Korra hugs the lover boy because she intends to surrender, he takes out her gun and shoots the bell against her will, which is even fucked up. Why? Because this is a plasma gun. How the plasma gun, which melts a hole in the bell when it hits it, makes a sound comparable to someone hitting it with a hammer. We just must remember these are plasma guns, not a bullet guns. So second nice scene is when the rebels are hearing the bell, they jump out of the ground and they shoot rockets straight into the Imperium ships. This looks pretty decent, even if the FX isn't really good. I feel like it was a good scene, probably maybe even done better in some movies, but I have to give this to Zack. This was okay. Probably the best scene in the entire movie. So for the next hour or so, you watch blinking lights back and forth, walking tanks which aren't supposed to be AT-ATs by any means. Don't come to that conclusion at all. Also, our main heroes being idiots because General Man is charging enemies with a rifle. The point of wielding a rifle is to shoot the enemies from the distance. This man just charges them and kicking them like it's 300 movie. I get that Mr. I was a prince with two axes is going at the enemies and charging them, not with a fucking rifle. So when everything on the ground is going to shit and everyone is fighting, so Korra and Loverboy decide to fly into the mothership, and to get there they pretend that the ship is damaged. So how do they do it? Loverboy jams a smoke grenade on the hatch and the Imperium says, "Oh no, looks like you're badly damaged," and Korra says that nothing is working properly, so she gives the control so they can remotely control the ship and bring them to the mothership, but can't see that nothing is really damaged to know that it was all a ruse. Are all the Imperium soldiers fucking stupid, or just technology is this inconsistent? From one side, it's a sci-fi movie with blasters, warships, remote controls, augmented humans, indestructible droids, but they can't scan the ship that can remotely control them for the damage. Few minutes ago they scanned the entire village, which showed how many people is in every single building, but scanning the ship for the damages that you actually control remotely is too much. You shouldn't even have to scan it. You should actually see everything when you took over the control over it. They obviously get in. Everyone is fooled by Cora and Loverboy. So the ship infiltration goes as smoothly as it never did in the sci-fi movies. Remember when Han, Luke, and Obi-Wan easily infiltrated the Death Star in New Hope? Yes? Well, they were actually properly dressed. The entire time, they had to hack some doors. Here, Cora just has the scarf over their face, and then she murders every single medic that wants to help her in the elevator and walks around the ship without any cover, without proper gear, nothing, like she owns it, no doors, no nothing, no face cover. Nobody even got alerted that the medics in the fucking elevator are dead. So she gets into the engine room, no problems, no doors to hack, no nothing, puts the bombs in place, activates it, and kills one guy who noticed her. So after that, her cover is blown, obviously, because the body of the dead guy fell down. So guess what our main protagonist is about to do? The all-good protagonist, defending the people, standing against the oppressor, does next. She jumps down and starts murdering people who just work in the engine room, just throwing the coal into the furnaces. Yep, remember old jokes about rebels killing the construction workers when they blew up the Death Star? Well, in here you don't have to speculate. She just murdered the elevator full of medics and right now jumped into the engine room and murdered everyone who was unarmed, just putting that coal into the furnaces. One guy even got kicked into the fucking furnace, so he died being burned alive, just murdering all the innocent people who may be there not even of their own free will. So hey lady, maybe this guy who was throwing the coal into the furnaces, maybe he was doing this because he has to feed his family. Have you thought of that? Also, what kind of spaceship works on coal? She got into the engine room. There's a big face there. Underneath are the people putting the coal into the furnaces. How? Why? Where? What the fuck am I even watching? But obviously, after all this, the main baddie, he's surprisingly waiting for Cora at their escape ship with his bodyguard. And obviously you're like, okay, so this is going to be a 2v1 fight, or the Loverboy is going to be fighting the bodyguard. No, the buff bodyguard is getting shot in the back by the Loverboy and dies instantly. Loverboy gets shot back and Cora has to fight the noble. All the time this scene takes place, everything around it is silent. It's shown like from the perspective like there is only Cora, Loverboy, noble, and the bodyguard. Nope, there's a plenty of soldiers running around minding their own business. I guess they don't get paid enough to care about this shit. They don't even give shit when Loverboy shoots the bodyguard in the back. And you gotta love how another coincidence in the movie happens. When Noble found out that Cora is on the ship, he told his men to fire at the village and kill everyone, even his own men. At this point, he's like, fuck the grain, we have Cora, we are going to starve to death as we go back to the motherland. Nuke it all. The cannon somehow is steered by the dude who just turns the valve around over and over and over, and he is really slow at it. So the cannon just lowers and lowers and lowers, and when it's about to shoot, at the same time the bombs explode on the engine room and the cannon shakes up a bit and misses the village about an inch. You are fucking kidding me at this point. I didn't know this movie can be even cornier than it managed to be up to this point, but they actually made it. They actually made the cannon miss by an inch. But there's one more coincidence in the store for the ones watching this crapster piece. The droid who was present in the first movie and then showed up and talked to Cora for a bit and fucked off again, well, when the rebels are about to be crushed by the Imperium soldiers, he just joins in. Turns out he's a fucking amazing, destroys everyone, everything, blows the tank by himself, annihilates everyone of the Imperium soldiers, and everyone is shooting at him, but he's indestructible. Nobody can even scratch him. It felt like watching a Superman movie. I was actually ready to yell, bring the kryptonite for fuck's fuck's sake? What's the point of creating the character in the movie which is so OP that it makes the upcoming movies pointless from now on? He can basically go and annihilate the entire Imperium by himself because nobody can do anything to him. He's indestructible and we don't know anything. Zack didn't show these droids having any weaknesses. He didn't explode shit. He's just indestructible killing machine. So meanwhile on the ship, Korra fights Nobu, the fight with the sword, sliding down on the burning ship, everything is going to shit, everything is being destroyed. Korra, with the help of her lover boy who saves her at the last moment, kill Nobu, decapitate him, and somehow they manage to find a working ship in pretty controllable condition, not being destroyed. The mothership was fucking sideways. Everything was upside down in there. How the hell did they manage to find a working ship and come back to Veld? Oh, what do you say, Zack? Oh, it happened off screen, so it makes no actual sense, but you have to accept it happened. Okay, Loverboy actually was quite healthy for a shot man during the fight. And when they crashed on Veld and rolled out of the ship, he was dying and died. And Korra cries and says, why can't I have this one thing? I was like, bitch, you killed people for the Empire. You participated in slaying the king and his wife. You shot the fucking princess, which was Jesus of this universe. You murdered medics and unarmed engine workers. And you have the audacity to ask why?
Sheer fucking hubris.
After all fighting is done, the rebels arrived to, I guess, clean up, where we get this horrific shots that will haunt me for the rest of my life in my dreams. This looks fucking terrible. Of course, except for the lover boy, only one more hero died. It was a sword lady. She got her hand chopped off, she got stabbed on the side, saved by the boy who, I don't know what was that scene. All the scenes that happened between her and this boy were so uncomfortable. For the entire time on the ground, it felt like all the heroes, except for the sword lady who chopped off her own hands to learn how to fight. God, it sounds so damn stupid. Everyone else felt like they have a thickest plot armor in the universe. The armor's so thick, so heavy, they shouldn't be even able to move with it. And the king of the plot armor must be the ex-general, charging enemies with a rifle like he's holding a fucking spear. And you know what you feel when these two characters died? Nothing, because you don't have any attachment to them. Nobody cares. Sword lady and their lover boy just died. No fucks were given. You don't even remember their names. Even characters in the movie, for the most part, seemed to be unmoved by the loss because nobody had any bond with them. Nobody gives a shit about anyone except for Korra after Loverboy died, in the relationship that was created out of nothing in 3 seconds. Like Zack expects viewers to be emotionally invested in the relationship of two characters on the screen just because they seen them kiss and shock twice. Of course, we get to know that Jesus' daughter is alive. Somehow ex-general knows it. That's why instead of trying to fix the shit, he was getting drunk on some gladiator planet. Droid also just accepts the fact that in front of him, Korra just said that she killed baby Jesus' daughter in the first place. His programming should kick off. Try to kill her for at least a second or two. Nah, he good. And this movie at this time is set in the universe when we had two movies which built nothing, gave us no backstory, didn't present the universe in the interesting way. It feels really small and tight. We didn't see anything. The story of these two movies also amounted to nothing. Our heroes protected some nothing of a village and slain Noble, one out of probably thousands. And we didn't even see Balisarius in the movie, which is obviously the main baddie, outside of this flashback scene when he assassinated a royal family. There were supposed to be two movies, as it was advertised. Turns out it's going to be, I quote, 6-movie trilogy, because this is how trilogies work apparently right now. According to Zack Snyder, there's going to be 4 more of these things, and each one of them is going to be worse than the previous one. We also have Army of the Dead, which according to Zack Snyder is also set in Rebel Moon universe. We don't know where it would fall into place, but sure, why not? it's a zombie planet or some shit, or it's a prequel which leads to nowhere. Who knows? Zack Snyder is a truly man with no vision, and nothing in his movies make any sense. He is a man who for some reason has devoted cult following of people who consume his dogshit movies, because outside of the few movies which he committed back in the day like Watchmen or 300, everything Zack touches recently turns to shit. It's like we had Midas who turned things into gold, right now we have Snyder who turns things into literal shit.